You're broke. You're fucking poor.
What's good? What's good? The spirit of YouTube compelled me once again to go live. Um, I was I was fighting the urge or the thought or notion, but couldn't didn't really find any content that I was that was worth me kind of retiring to. So I decided to make some. Uh, so yeah, topic is on my mind is class warfare, right? Or class war, right? So in America there's a lot of divisions, a lot of identity politics, as they say. I didn't come up with this term. This is just something that I don't necessarily know who coined that term, but it's something nonetheless that it's a term that involves people involving different conversations relating to identity, such as, okay, I'm from this place and you're this person from this place and all of that. Like, basically people spatting about different racial divisions or even intercultural divisions. um Nobody does that more than black people. Black people are the only ones primarily that are, I'm not going to say the only ones, but they're the primary ones that are making a big fuss about intercultural divisions. I can say hands down, white people do not spat about intercultural divisions. Have they done so in the past? Yes. But they've been balling out of control for, you could say, about 100 years, at least 50 to 60 years. So much so, they don't even complain about intercultural politics. White people do not talk about, they're not talking like Europeans from the UK or Great Britain. They're not having spats with people in America that are Irish. They're not having spats about, they're not calling people, white people are not calling people mix and wops and shit like that. Like their grandparents probably did, but they're not spatting like that because it's just a different time frame. Back then, probably you say the 30s and 20s, there were a lot of people, the whole country was really mostly everybody back in, let's just say, the times where kids could work in coal mines and shit. They were mostly everybody was poor as shit. Mostly everybody was really poor. They were competing for jobs. It was about jobs and getting employment, competing for certain jobs and stuff like that. Now 2020, 1990s, 2000s, man, white community, if you want to call it, has so much overabundance and wealth. They don't even give a shit about that. They don't care as long as you white. That's pretty much all it matters. I mean, they make fun of, or they talk about Jews, but Jews are considered white um as far as a cultural designation. But the thing is that because they've made so much money over the decades, they don't even have spats about intercultural identity politics. Black people, this whole you know FBA thing, because some broke nigga in California started some type of movement, because he needed some money and he needed a grift, so he stole it from Yvette Carnell and Tone Talks. That is why you're engaging in. That's why black people are engaging in intercultural identity politics. Let's see what we got here. Uh, black person, black person care about it because they believe the lie of racism. Okay. Yeah, what's going on? Seeking my creator. Um, yeah. It's but the reason why, and it's just like I preface with the white people talking about, they calling Irish people mix and Italians wops. I used to call Italians and Spanish wops, spics, and different call it. I used to call. I think they used to call Jews kites and all of these different words because they were poor. They were competing over jobs. And the thing about black people today, they have the same kind of issue. A lot of black people don't really have the money like that. The money, is a problem. The wealth is a problem. So much so that they have, like, when I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm gonna be 100. One of the things you can't say about me is that I'm not honest, almost to the detriment that is embarrassing to me. I'm so honest, I embarrass myself because I put my own self out there. I'm guilty of certain things that I say that it involves myself. So when I say this is just the absolute truth. A lot of the reason that people complain about just about anything is because they don't have a lot of money. I said it. Yeah, a lot of people. The reason why a lot of times people complain is because they ain't got the fucking money to live the life that they want to live. Like, I mean, like, literally, think about it. If you got enough time to complain, that means that you basically have enough time to complain, which means you don't have the willingness to or ability to actually do things or enjoy life. Whatever you complaining about, that's your scapegoat of why you can't really fully enjoy life. And I mean, one of the things that I found that primarily on Twitter, the reason why people engage in these, especially black people engage in these intercultural identity politics, it's a scapegoat to not talk about the real problem, which is basically financial lack of financial opportunities and financial gain. A lot of, I mean, basically, the average black person is forced into a situation where they have to work jobs and work with people that they don't even really want to talk about. Like, one of the things I don't get about the whole FBA shit and all that is like, okay, well, I get it. You don't like Africans and Caribbeans, but you almost give the people that that basically brought you over here, you give them an entire pass. You give them a pass. Um, the slave masters, right? You give them a pass, but you act as if you hate quote unquote tethers more than the people that actually brought you over here and made uh basically hundreds of hundreds of years of free labor capital off of the backs of your ancestors and my ancestors as well. You act like they hate them. They hate tethers more than they hate the people that made billions and trillions of dollars off of basically robbing your ancestors and mine too, of their labor, human resource capital. I can I just, that's one of the major things that I don't get. Like, I mean, you talking about tethers, but meanwhile, you got to take your slave ass to work tomorrow because you got to pay your rent and your mortgage, to the same people that don't want to give you quote unquote reparations. I can't get on, I can't get in line with that. That's ridiculous. And then you claim, you talk about tethers and whatever, And then you don't have businesses in your own community. You have basically foreigners that occupy your community, and you go get your gas and your blunts from these same foreigners, you know, because you don't have enough organization and unity because you're so busy. Your daily activities are involved with talking about tethers online and going to go work for the slave master's children. And you by the time you get off work, you're tired, drained, uh, and you don't have enough strength or ability or mindset to form a coalition to actually have businesses in your own community. And that's the problem. That's the problem right there. That's why I never could get in line with that. And then come to find out, this is a nobody's really talking about this, but the dude that you claim is your leader, y'all created this museum, aka club. Now it's abandoned. It's boarded up and abandoned. So I called that shit out years ago. I called that shit out years. I saw the bullshit years ago, and I was like, it's all about the money. If you don't address the money, you're not addressing trying to create some type of wealth, generational wealth. It's all everything you're talking about is foo-foo. It's just garbage. Shit, basically. Because those are the actual tools that operate society. Capital. If you're not talking about capital, not talking about when I'm saying capital, I'm not talking about begging for reparations. It's okay to take some advances for reparations, but waiting on reparations is not the answer. It's never been the answer. You gotta, basically have some type of economic communal activity to be even taken serious. That's why black people are not taken serious, because if you can't compete commercially or in this capitalistic system, I'm gonna be honest with you, nobody takes you serious. In order to really compete capitalistically, you have to have some type of trade. I mean, I'm not saying that it's nothing wrong with having some type of pride with your identity and all of that, but if you don't have some type of economic trade, your communities will forever be ghettos. You'll forever be a slave, basically, in this economic system. You'll forever be that. It will never not change. And you could say, you call people tethers all day, twice on Sunday. Your environment and your reality will never change unless you change it. I mean, if anything, that shouldn't be a problem, because you have an acronym, you have a movement. So that means that you should go out. Oh, we all FBA. Well, let's start a gas station. FBA to the rescue. Like, I mean, that should be no problem. You already have three-letter organization, or to basically collide with, or combine some type of you agree on certain things. So that should be enough to sit down somewhere and start a fucking corporation or non-for-profit, several non-for-profits. But I don't know. I'm just some broke guy with some YouTube channel that don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I don't know anything. What do I know? Yeah, it's a dude created, basically, he stole Tone Talks and Yvette Carnell's movement. He saw opportunity to make some more money. Now that shit crashing and burning, because now they can see, basically, you eat the fruit of what you grow. And FBA has not grown anything. That whole movement was just basically people talking about tethers online, people seeing it for what it actually is. The whole world stage is seeing it. It's basically probably some type of, I could say it now, probably some agent, it's probably some it's probably most likely he's an agent. Tariq Nasheed is most likely an agent, basically, to divide and conquer black people from connecting to Africa, because that was all the goal. There was always a fear of black people connecting back to Africa or having some type of coalition, some type of unity back to Africa. Okay, so that's basically where they brought his ass in, and people went for it. But people like myself and others see it for exactly what it is. You know, and it's just people just not really being taken serious, because basically they don't have any type of capital other than what they started with that hidden museum. They haven't put any capital get together to actually change. You can't change anything without any money. Can't change nothing. This is a capitalistic system. If you don't have any capital behind what your mouth is, your words, your movement, your movement don't mean shit. If you don't have capital behind it, nobody takes you serious. Look at the Jews. 50% of all billionaires are Jews. All of the billionaires in the United States, half of them are Jews. Jews are overrepresentative as far as their actions and their words, because they have capital. They harness their whole religion. Really is, the religion, a lot of their religion is based off of capital. I'll be honest with you, it's a lot of stuff that I'm researching and things that I'm learning myself. Finance, it is a thing where it to a certain degree, it's metaphysical. You could even say it's certain elements is involved, like magic, black magic, all kinds of things. And those are some of the things that, like, Jews, they're into. They're into some, kind of deep level type shit. They're really, really deep with that shit. You know what I'm saying? Where other people might scratch the surface, they doing all kind of shit, like with that in that realm. But yeah, if you don't have any capital, man, you can forget any movement. If your movement or your group don't have capital, you can forget about it. You can absolutely forget about it. That's one of the things that people. That's what people do. They attack. They go after the money. Any group, organization, they go after the money. That's the way that they try to destroy or stop the movement, is they stop the capital flow. And one of the things that I noticed about this whole thing, and just the whole idea of identity politics itself, or any other thing, is that without any capital, you can forget about it. You can forget about it. I don't care whatever anything that you're trying to do without capital, you just forget about it. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's like, you want to start some type of, whatever you want to start. If you ain't got no capital, man, you can forget about it. And what's going on right now is there's a rift in America. There's there's a battle. It seems like almost a battle to try to keep people, to a point where it's a shift. It's a shift in who has the reins of wealth. Like, one thing I will say regarding this whole Iran and Israel um, missile launching and war at this point. It's, pretty much war at that. Um, one thing. Well, in case you didn't know, Israel is a European. You could say it's a European. It's a UN basically district. It's a European enclave or district that just is positioned where it is. It's only they, pretty much after World War II, they dispatched all of these Europeans, these Jewish Europeans that were basically survivors of the Nazi Germany, basically war, and they sent them to Israel, and they ran roughshod, and basically they took over the Palestinians that were there, and then they flipped it on them to be just as horrific as the Germans did to them. That's what they did to Palestinians. The whole world saw it. Now they're getting bombed by Iran. Okay, and pretty much Iran is not as weak as the Palestinians. Okay, the Palestinians are weak. The Iranians, they saw what was did to them in the late 70s and 80s, and they've pretty much they stockpiled their weapons, and they strengthened their defense forces, and they're not as weak as the Palestinians. They pretty much that's the Persian Empire. You know, and they going to they're going back and forth, and Israel's like, oh, I need some help me, and it's like throwing the rock and trying to hide your hand. And here's the thing, this is a big deal, because historically the people before, they went along with what was the rhetoric. Okay, we got to protect Israel. Well, now that ship has sailed. The millennials, the Z's, pretty much even the younger boomers, they're not going with their grandparents, their parents, just going along with the government, talking about we need to protect Israel. They're not going along with the shit. They seeing it for exactly what it is. These people, can't trust them. They full of lies. They trying to do stuff, and then trying to use American taxpayer dollars to protect them and to, fund them living in this, land that they were dispatched to live in the late 1940s. The young people ain't going for it. Their secret tapes, they had a meeting. They said one of the biggest problems in America, and this was the Israel lobby, they said one of the biggest problems in America is the young black people in America. That was what they said. The young black people in America are some of our biggest problems, because the reason why, they said, because we're not the young black people now, we don't go along with everything like our grandparents, our parents. We're not going to go along with the just basically what they went along with before. We're not going to co-sign it, and it's a problem. We're not gonna go along with their plot and their plans. Their plans that involve certain things, we're not going to go along with it. We're not going to go along with the mission, you could say. And the thing is, it's not even just black people. It's a lot of people in America are just like, you know what? This is not something that we want to sustain. This is, we're not going to go along with this, idea that we're going to keep funding Israel. We're going to keep, risking everything for this proxy state that's all the way in the Middle East that was started in the 1940s. And one of the things that is important is that not only that, but basically there's a collusion in this country to hold on to this wealth and this capital. And you got older people, the boomers and silent generation, they're passing away and they're leaving. This is we're in the midst of a great wealth transfer. We're in the midst of, you know they say, I think, like $20 trillion or $10 trillion wealth transfer. So whoever your parents, a lot of people's parents, grandparents, they're dying, they're leaving them some of that wealth, or they're transferring that wealth to other places. Like Warren Buffett, he's retired from Berkshire Hathaway. He's worth like over $100 billion, something like that, $200 billion. He's leaving his wealth, or he's transferring his wealth to, I don't know, I guess he's donated it or something like that, but he's not giving it to his children. I mean, it's just stuff like that's going on where a lot of these people, they gonna pass away. They're gonna leave a lot of real estate. They're gonna leave a lot of assets, and these people, some of these people are gonna inherit these assets. Um it's a lot of stuff going on. People not, like some of these people, man, I'm gonna be honest with you, some of these wealthy people, they have children that are dysfunctional. So they, if they leave their assets with their children, they don't really feel comfortable doing it, because their children live in uh dysfunctional lifestyles. They don't have any family themselves. They not married, not even in heterosexual relationships to where they can have a normal family. So they don't even feel, it's a lot of this shit going on. Like, people living, really dysfunctional lives, and, they're like, well, I got a family, but my son, he's L Gibbet. My daughter, she's, crazy, or, she's, um, she don't want, she's a feminist and she don't want to have a family and all. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it's, it's not like it's, it's a thing where a lot of these wealthy people, they work their butt off and they made a whole bunch of money, but they children are fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like, they amassed all of this fortune, and their children, are dysfunctional, extremely dysfunctional. So they like, well, damn, who do I leave my my wealth to? It's like, that's why they be like, leaving their wealth to their dog and giving it away to charity. It's like, yeah, it's crazy, but it is a thing. It is a thing. Um, but yeah, it's all of this stuff, man. It's a new thing, like, where it's a new day. Like, Americans ain't going. We're not going like the silent generation and all of that. We're not easily controllable. Trying to start these little proxy wars and start these build-ups, and then they trying to get people to sign. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not going to the, people see the documentaries and how these wars were started, and in the World War II and World War One and stuff like that. And the internet is available. You got AI. You got data at your fingertips. And the average person, I know a lot of people are dumb, but you could whip out your phone and you can find out information at your fingertips. The average person, because of the availability of technology and information and data, they know more than the average person that was like, in the 1950s and 1940s, 1960s. Like people back then, they didn't really have the available information like that. They didn't have that information, and they were easily programmable. They were easily able to be propagandized well, and controlled, because like, for example, the media, right? The media is a controllable, it's a propaganda tool. Well, the social media, or let's just say you could even call it peer-to-peer media, where you could go to forums and stuff like that to get certain information that's not being shown in the media. You have that availability. You have the ability to go, on the web or the dark web, and find, what actually is going on. You could ask, the media is saying one thing or they're not talking about certain things, and you could actually talk to someone over in another country and find out on the ground what is actually going on. And it's like you can't really, really just keep people in the dark like that anymore. And they just gonna go along with whatever is said. Like that, those days are pretty much over with. So um, people know exactly what's going on. You know, even when they weren't showing a lot of media coverage, a lot of the bombings in Gaza and all of that type of stuff, people can actually see it. They could see it, on social media. They could see the, video footage that was not being shown. They could actually see what's going on, and they saw how horrific that actually was. And that actually put a stain on Israel and the future of Israel, actually, because now people actually have, they don't have any, when you talk about war, you talk about the hearts and the mind. Well, they don't really have any heart. They don't have any, they don't have any love for Israel, because they seen how horrific Israel did, to the Palestinians and people in Gaza, and all of that type of stuff from that bombing they did, the bombings that they done, and all of the stuff that they've done and still doing. People don't have any heart for them. They don't have any love for them. They're not supportive of the modern state of Israel. So whatever ploys or plans that they're trying to do, it's not gonna have the same effect, because people are not on the same page with supporting that regime in Israel with Netanyahu. They're not in support of it. People are not supportive of a lot of what these corporations are doing. They're not supportive of kind of where the country is going as well. People are, it's I've been looking at this thing, man. I've been really looking at this, and I'm looking at this like, I'm looking at these, a lot of the rich and wealthy, and what I'm seeing is people trying to hold on to their money. They're really trying to hold on to this, to their wealth. They're trying to, just hold on to it as much as they possibly can. They're not trying to pay people and all of that. They're trying to, squeeze these jobs. They're trying to hire. That's the whole thing with the immigrants. They trying to hire all these immigrants to bypass other minorities. Because see, here's the thing with the whole thing with immigrants or whatever, primarily Hispanics, people from Latin America, right? The reason why they brought them over here and the reason why they want them here in the first place is to undermine other minorities, primarily black people in this country, to give them the jobs. Like, I have people that I know that work in construction that are laborers, union laborers, and they out of work. I call them, I'm like, damn, what you not working? Yeah, because you go on a job site, you go past the job site, and it's a whole bunch of Latinos, a whole bunch of Hispanics working construction with no papers. There's over here illegally. People be like, oh, nobody want to work those jobs. Man, there's plenty of people that want to work construction. It's a lot of people a lot of black men that are in the construction field that they have to deal with not having jobs because they have to deal with the fact that these white folks are hiring these Latinos over black people. They hiring, mixing in poor white people that work construction with Latinos and hiring maybe one or two blacks. Not even it's been whole job sites where it's nothing but Latinos, nothing but Hispanics. So that was what I'm not saying it's Democrat or whatever. I would say primarily the people that were doing this were Democrats because the way white folks act, whether they Democrats or Republicans, Democrats do certain sneaky shit, and Republicans do certain shit. One of the things I could say is, well, Illinois is a Democratic machine. It's a Democratic state. And the things that I saw were in Illinois, a Democratic state. So that leads me to believe that mostly the white Democrats were the ones that were doing this. They were trying to bring in a bunch of illegal immigrants from primarily Latin America and Mexico to undermine blacks in labor, to rob black people from labor. Because it's not enough white people to work labor because white people can get jobs. They can get the quote unquote good paying jobs. So they don't work construction like that. They don't do those jobs like that. So what they do is they bring in other people from other countries to undermine the local labor talent, the local labor source, which is primarily black men, ages 18 to 48, you could say, that will be looking for work. That wants that, a lot of these guys, they want to actually work. They can't work because they're trying. See, the whole thing is this is in every most black men notice they don't want you to have no money because they don't want you to compete. See, when you're unemployed and you're unemployed for long periods of time, you can't compete. You can't compete. You can't viably date. Really, to be honest, you can't take care of your family. If you have a family, you can't. It's hard for you to even start a family when you don't have viable income coming in. So, the undermine black men to keep them unemployed. That's what they've done. Over the centuries, decades in this country. They constantly do that, and that's what they brought the immigrants in to do primarily. And then live in the communities because they got to live somewhere, so they live around black people because that's only where they could actually afford to live. So then they are odds with black people in certain communities, you know um having, different cultural spats and stuff like that. I mean, this is all of the stuff that I saw in Illinois. I mean, I'm not, I'm sure it was other places. But these are most of the places I seen this was Democratic ran states. Like Colorado. That so it leads me to believe this is what the Democrats. This is the dirty game that the Democrats were doing. White Democrats. And I don't get it. I mean, I just look at people really, really dumb. I look at people as they're really dumb or stupid or don't care that you don't see this shit. And then, it's almost like they're one of the things I could say is probably the most programmed demographic of black people in America is the black Democrat. I mean, you can't say that that's not the case because they're actually going along with this shit blindly. I'm not saying all of them, but I'll say most of them because they co-sign all of this bullshit. And it's like, anybody that just, can see it just like it is, they can see what they're actually doing, what they've been trying to do. And it's like, okay, all of these things take away from the opportunity to actually be able to, basically be on someone's payroll, to be able to feed and take care of your family or even start a family, to be able to date and actually, be able to, court a woman and be able to show that you can actually take care of her and possibly any future children. Well, it's important if you got some fucking, gainful employment or some type of, gainful business to be able to, show some type of ability that you can actually take care of a family, or take care of the family that you already have. These things are actually important. Having some type of, payroll or being on someone's payroll, right? Those are very, very important. Well, if you got people robbing you of that opportunity, they should go fuck themselves. I mean, if you ask me, I think the people that sign up for that shit, they should be deported too. They should be deported along with the people that, came in, that they brought in. They should go right with them. Oh yeah, you want them in? Yeah, you go with them. You go in the vans and get on a plane with them and go where they came from, because you wanted them here so bad. But then that's going into some other shit. That's going into tyranny and all kind of other crazy shit. But that's how I think about it. I mean, because I understand when somebody's trying to compete with me. I understand when people are trying to compete with me and people that look like me. You don't want me to have any gainful employment or business opportunities. And when that's the case, man, it's an ultimate fuck you. It's the most greatest ultimate fuck you that you ever get from me. When I know people don't want to actually have me on a job site, you can go absolutely fuck yourself. And don't pretend like we're friends and we cool. Go fuck yourself and your mama too. I don't play that shit. I don't play, like, that's one of the major things I don't play. I don't play about no money. You can play about basketball and all the other shit. You can play about tennis. You can play all kind of shit, but don't play me and anything revolving any money. Do not come at me with that bullshit. I'm the last person that you want to come with me on some you trying to take some motherfucking money out of my pocket. Get your hands out of my pocket, motherfucker. And it's like, yeah, that's my sentiments on it. But the thing is that that's what this is about. All this other bullshit ain't about nothing. It's about It's economic control. You know, economic control is what this is all about. And I'm one of the few people that actually address this shit. I don't, a lot of people, they talking about all this other shit. I mean, I get it, but without any type of economic success, man, you can forget about it, man. You can forget about that girl that you want. You can forget about that opportunity that you want. You can forget about it.
Message.
Absolutely forget about it. If you don't have a pay, if you ain't on payroll or someone else, or you got your own payroll, meaning you got a business, don't forget about it, buddy. Absolutely forget about it. Absolutely forget about it. And and the thing is that this shit been running roughshod for so many decades and years, man. It's the wealthy are getting wealthy. I mean, the poor is getting poor. Now you seeing the middle class is like people ain't even talking about no middle class. They ain't talking about no fucking middle class because it ain't no middle class. It's rich and poor. That's all it is. That's the middle class right there, rich and poor. Where you at? Oh yeah, you on the poor side, right? And it's like, yeah, the delusion. Maybe that's what a title of a discussion I need to have: the delusion of the middle class, the delusion of the middle class, right? You know, the delusions of the middle class. Because it is a delusion. Oh, I got a good job. Me and the missus, we got a good job. So we got 2 car notes and we got a mortgage and a timeshare. And we got vet bills and we sent our kids to private school. And we're we're $300,000 in debt. You know, yeehaw. Yippee.
Nigga, did you know that I can see you?
Yeah. And that's the delusion of the middle class, thinking, oh, I got enough to buy a bunch of fucking liabilities and live the life of a rich person, but on credit. The delusions of the middle class. Delusions. The actual delusions of the middle class. That's what that is. It's really, it's like an old bum crackhead told me in my grandma neighborhood. Ain't no middle class. It's rich and poor. It's that middle class. That's the middle. You know, you either fight to get rich, or you either fighting to get rich, or you fighting to stay poor. Either fighting to get rich, or you fighting to stay poor. That's the battle that you choose wisely. And the thing is that there are, all these different things is the plan and the ploy is to sustain to sustain this here, to sustain this you know this wealth distribution in this country, where you got basically super wealthy and everybody else is just pretty much poor as shit, and in between, and it's like they're trying to continue this shit every day. That it's a continuation. They're trying to continue this game, this simulation. And I'm up here and I'm trying to glitch this matrix. I'm trying to glitch this shit to, basically, just remind you that this is what this is about. All this, relationship stuff, I get it, but I mean, that shit is fucking dead if you ain't got no motherfucking money. You can forget a relationship because at the end of the day, unless you, a lot of the women be like, I'm not trying to have no struggle love and all of that. I mean, I get it, but it's like, to be honest, to a certain extent, they're right because basically that's what you have when you don't have any fucking money. You don't have any capital. It is a struggle. Now, I'm gonna be honest. A lot of these women don't matter if you do have the capital or not. They're not worth shit because they don't know how to be quiet. They don't know how to keep no peace in no household. They offer no peace, and basically, even if you were rich, they will give you um hell, because they don't know how to, deal with men. They really just concubines, and a lot of men take them serious and they get old and then they don't have anybody, and you realize, like, why is this woman, she looks so good, she got a body, like, I mean, just amazing body, and she looks so good. Why is she not, married? It's because she can't get along with no man. No man on earth can get along with this woman without, just basically compromising themselves. So it's, to a certain extent, you got to look at it like this. Immigrants are poor when they come over here, and they got women that stick by their side, that work with them, give them peace, and also give them their labor, and help them, they help each other, right? Well, they don't have shit. And then you talking about some woman talking about, you don't make enough and you only make, you need to make $100,000, go fuck yourself. You know, Juan comes over here and Maria is fucking helping him cut grass. You know, she's she's part of the fucking landscape crew, and he, they're barely making it. But she's sticking by his side. Why the fuck you can't do that? Because you don't fucking love me. You don't fucking give a fuck about me. You just about whatever the fuck you about because you're a selfish whore. That's what it is. You know, and it's like, when you look at Maria, help, what I'm saying, she's in for, the passion and the struggle, and she's gonna eventually, they gonna eventually make it. They eventually make it. They come over here, they get a pickup truck, and next thing you know, they got a fucking driveway full of pickup trucks and cars, and a house, because they work with each other. And then meanwhile, this worthless whore is asking you to do shit, and then if you do it, you actually do whatever she said she wanted you to do. She still treats you like a worthless whore. Even with, you could be a millionaire, you could be fucking a mega millionaire, she still treats you like she is a fucking worthless whore. So you got to be careful with that, because some of this shit is, you just, these women are fucking out of their fucking mind. They don't know what they want, and then if they get what they want, they don't even know how to fucking, keep it. It's like you get people that they get a job to fucking sit down, and you give them a job, and their job title or work description is to lay in bed. Just all you gotta do is just lay in bed. Can't even fucking do that. They get up as soon as they get the job, they getting out of bed. They can't lay in the bed. You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy. You know what I'm saying? You can't do shit, man. Even if it's simple, they can't do it. They can't shut their, how simple is it to shut your mouth? Be quiet. Like, I thought about it. It's like a decent woman, a basic woman, she knows how to feed you, fuck you, and go find something to fuck to do. Women can't even fucking do that. That's basic shit. feed you, fuck you, go find something to do. You know, they can't even feed you, barely can fuck you, and then you know their job is trying to see what the fuck you doing every day. They trying to, you know, be detective. They all trying to figure out what you gonna do next because every dude they get with, they can't keep because, you know, he trying to move on to somebody else, or, you know, you can't trust them and all this other bullshit because they try and control the situation. And it's like, yeah, no, go find something the fuck to do. Get out of my face. Stop thinking about me. Stop worrying about why I didn't pick up the call at 2 o'clock and all this other shit. Why I didn't text back and all. I got shit I'm doing. That's why. Why I didn't call. Why I didn't come at this time and all. Find something to fuck to do besides worrying about your man. And then here's the thing. Here's the kicker. You know, this is what gets me because I wasn't raised like the average American. I was raised in an Islamic household, and everybody knows, you know, in Islam you can have 4 wives. Like, what the fuck make you think if I'm the greatest motherfucker, you want me to be great, and I'm actually great, right? Why would I have just one woman? And why would you think I would be with one woman? And then what are you talking about cheating? Ain't no thing. It's no concept of no cheating because you already know I got more than one woman. And then what motherfucking great man, Bible or otherwise, ever just had fucking one fucking woman? The fuck out of here. You know, talking about some cheating. Bitch, you better be glad you had a great man. You know how many you know how many women would be like, damn, they'll love to take your place. You know, they dreaming for the man that you already have. You know, and then you fumbled them. You know, talking about he cheated. They go talk about it. You know, it's like it's like this young dude. I think he's a Z. I don't know if I believe he's a Z on TikTok. He's like, you stupid bitch. You leave him for cheating, so you go get another nigga that don't even claim you, and he telling you he got other bitches, and we just kicking it. Bitch, you could have fucking stayed with your original guy that you was with that was cheating on you, because now you getting with another dude that's cheating, or he ain't cheating on you. He got all kind of other women while he got you. You know, you could have stayed your ass at home with your own family and stayed with the motherfucker that you was already with. You stupid bitch. I mean, it's like, man, it's, you know, it's crazy, man. It's crazy, but all of that shit, man. You know, to a certain extent, the whole money thing, it depend. It's situational, and it depends on the woman that you choose. Like, you know, you can get, you know, a subprime woman. It don't matter. It don't matter how much money you have. You know, you should. The reason why a lot of times these women require so much is because, you know, they fucking need. They're very needy, and they're not resourceful. So anything that comes their way, they blow it. You know, you get them $100,000, they gonna blow it. $1,000,000, they gonna blow it. You know, because they don't know how to save any money. They don't know how to sit down nowhere. They always gotta move and shake. You know, probably got parasites all in their body. Can't sit still. You know, they want to spend money. You know, blow money, buying stuff and all of that. Can't sit down. You know, can't provide any type of peace. You know, and serenity. And they want to. That's why they require so much money from you. You know, that's why they have all of these requirements. You know, meanwhile, you know, they get banged by the dude that ain't got no money. You know, because, you know, they got requirements for you, but they don't have requirements for that dude um that just got out of jail, or maybe he's even in jail right now, and they hoping for the day that he gets out. So it's you know, you got to be really careful with that whole ideology with trying to meet women's requirements, you know, financial requirements. You know what I'm saying? Um, so, but you know, the thing is that when you do have you know, a wherewithal, you have your money situated, you have your life situated, right? You do have a door, you know, you have some type of opportunity that you are you are probably, you know, a catch, as they say, because you have the you check the boxes. Got a decent place to live. You got, you know, gainful employment, or a business, you know, that you run. You know, you have, you know, the cars. You know, you look good. You smell good. You know, just, you know, walking almost like, you know, a walking dollar bill, right? Like, yeah, I mean, women are attracted to that. You know, they're, you know, you become a catch, right? You know, women trying to catch you. You know, you could be a situation like where you like, damn, me everywhere, you know, you drive around, you got all this attention, and you know, you pretty much, you know, it's because you got your life in a certain situation, a certain order. You got your finances, you know, right. You know, that does, like I say, that does play a role in you being a very good catch. You know, I mean, it's like, here's the thing, right? And I'm gonna get up off of here soon, but here's the thing, right? When it come to women, this is what I thought about with women, right? I looked at it like, you know, when I used to horse, I used to bet on horses with my uncle. My dad used to bet on horses too. There's something called, it's, you know, you got like a single bet, right? Where you just bet on one horse. Like, you got some women that they got just one thing going for them. They might have a beautiful face, or, you know, look good, right? It might be fine, but they ain't got no ass. They got no titties. You know, the pussy ain't really that good. So they just got it. Just, it's like a single, like, you know, just, you know, just got one thing going for them, right? Then you got an exacta, which is like two things, right? Two bets, right? Well, you know, they might have a fat ass and some good pussy. And then a flat chest. Flat chest, but a fat ass and some, you know, good pussy, and the face ain't really hit no much. You know, then you got a trifecta, which is three things. So you got fat ass, good pussy, big titties, but the face, they got a butter face. Now, if you got a superfecta, which they got a very beautiful face, big titties, ass, pussy, you know, like you know what I'm saying, like sparkling wine, like, you know what I'm saying. Those are rare, but you know, you know, it's like damn near the women. A lot of women like that. They be, you know, either OnlyFans, or, you know, they IG baddies, you know, all that type of stuff. And I'm talking about all natural. I'm not talking about no BBLs, and then I'm talking about all natural. You know, you know, those are that's the way, you know, men look at women. You know, where, you know, women, they look at men to a sense of, you got money, you can kind of cheat that whole thing. Well, then this is the thing where a lot of women kind of like, they get confused, because they were taught to compete with, you know, to compete with men and get jobs and get, you know, education and all of that type of stuff. And where the confusion comes in is like, they look at men with money, and they're like, you know, they're short, stubby, and ugly, and they like rich, and they can get, you know, beautiful women, And they're like, damn, well, I go to job, I go get a job, I go to school and get an education and get the job and all of that, or even be a business entrepreneur and make a whole bunch of money. Why I can't just buy a man or get a man to be attracted to me because I got all this money? And they don't get it. Like it's differences. It's what do they say? It's double standards. It's different. Men and women are different. We men don't really look at the whole idea of what I'm saying is men don't look at women for their fucking money. They look at what they have to offer. Basically, naturally, if you could say, like, men are able to kind of cheat that whole natural thing when it comes to money, because women look for resources, and it's primarily because of the system. It's, a lot of, if you really want to think about it, and I'm not the first person that talked about this or said this. One of the reasons why, capitalism, or this, the idea of capitalism, you could just say mercantilism, even bartering, the reason why that is a thing is because of the dynamics of male on male competition. Okay, if I have a whole bunch of cattle, a whole bunch of, resources, a whole bunch of money, I have resources that women are attracted to because women are attracted to resources. So it doesn't matter how I look, it doesn't matter how I, whatever, even if I'm tall or anything, if I got these resources. So that's why men they go so hard. Like a lot of men, that's the reason why a lot of men, they kill other men. It's the reason why they go out, sell drugs, to commit crimes, because they know if they have that money, almost like that, like if you go to Lord of the Rings, if they have the precious, doesn't necessarily work for women. Women can't go out and just make a whole bunch of money and they're going to attract a whole bunch of um men. Men are not attracted to money. Men are not attracted to women's money like women are attracted to men's money. It just doesn't work like that. And that's why, this system is the way it is, primarily because, men are very super hyper competitive to get wealthy and wealthy as possible, to have a whole bunch of women, or as many women as they possibly can. And that's why the system is the way it is, going back thousands and thousands of years. That's how the system was designed. So the thing is, my whole point to all of that is that, basically, that's why men, trying to make as much money as they can and trying to, go so hard, because they know that finance, that money is the cheat code to kind of getting certain women. Now, I'm not gonna say that that's not, to a certain extent, you got to understand that it's a double-edged sword. um I'm not saying that I suggest you go out and make a whole bunch of money so you can use money as a cheat code. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you should have enough money and resources so you can basically take care of your future family, if you want to have that, or even obviously your current family, and that's that. Like, basically, a lot of what society is become a society based off of of a lot of elite people in high places not wanting you to have those resources, to be able to take care of a future family or your current family. and that's why people are really get really pissed off of that. That's why people kind of to a certain extent rebel, and do crimes like rob banks and certain things like that. But I think that this year this is going to be kind of rather interesting, because the wealthy is trying to hold on to their money. They're building bunkers because this whole Iranian thing and Middle East tensions and stuff like that is definitely not something that is good. Gas is going up, because of the wars in the Middle East. You still got Ukraine and Russia. This is getting, like I say, this shit is really progressing. The whole war, all these wars, these are very much are progressing, and it's really concerning. But the thing is that at the same time, you got to understand these wealthy elites they're still trying to hold on to their money. They're not giving any money away. They're not trying to they're not trying to tax. They're not, tax the rich is not a thing. They're not taxing the rich, not taxing the wealthy, right? They're still trying to hold on to this shit, man. And um to the detriment of society. Right now, I mean, it's safe to say that you know these governments or administrations that have taken away the idea of taxing the rich and wealthy. It's been a detriment to the society. Now, even white people are complaining. I mean, it's like now you're seeing a thing where it's not about any particular. I mean, it's still racial preferences and stuff like that. But now you people got can't see it for what it is. You got poor and you got rich. You got basically people that have to be subjected to the reality that they don't have the capital to live the life that they actually want to live, and they're seeing it for what it is. A lot of white people are still blinded by their own versions of identity politics, where basically, aka racism and whole white supremacy thing. But they're starting to wake up and see it ain't well, I could claim white supremacy all day long, but I still got to go park my ass in a trailer park, and I got to be at that job site in the morning. And then they're drinking themselves and shooting up heroin and meth, and then realizing you know at the end of the day they're not addressing the overlying problems that pretty much the people that look just like them, this live in these ivory towers, have most of the money and wealth, and they got a beat up pickup truck in the trailer park, and they have to go to the job site every morning, that they don't really like to go to, and it's not a bunch of black monkeys that have them in that reality. It's the fact that their parents didn't have any money, and grandparents, and you know people that do have the money is looks exactly like them. And that's the quote unquote um hard pill to swallow, but that's something that they have to deal with. That's the reality that they have to deal with. But it is what it is. I just, it's just something that was on my mind. Like I say, I had to come on here to glitch the matrix, and I think I was successful in that endeavor. So I'll leave you with this one, and you know, have a good Friday.
You're broke. You're fucking poor.